Now, how often do you call into a friend's place just to say hi or invite the neighbours over for a cup of tea over the weekend? Rarely or never at all? Well, according to new research out this morning, we are an increasingly disconnected nation. More than 4 million Australians now say they haven't got any friends they could visit without an invitation, while the average number of close friends we each have has dropped to less than 4. So for today's agenda, we're asking, have we forgotten how to make friends? And I'm joined this morning by Ebony Gaylor from the Red Cross and relationships expert, Dr. Nikki Goldstein. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
This is really sad, this research, isn't it? But probably not all that surprising, I suppose. Why do you think, Nikki, we've become so disconnected?
Well, I think in the age of social media, which is the obvious explanation, we think that we're catching up with our friends, but really what we're seeing is scrolls on a Facebook feed. We're seeing what's going on. We're sending them an occasional message. So we've lost that art of, well, let's catch up for coffee and talk about what's going on. I think we're also too spoiled for friends. We have so many people that are online. We feel like we're constantly making that statement, oh, let's catch up, let's do something. But really, we feel like we're so time poor because there's too many people to catch up with. Yeah. So I think we've seen this replacement of the online world to the physical world. But the sad reality is that we still need those personal connections. Yeah. We can't expect to get everything from one person if we are in a relationship. We still need to be able to have that support system that isn't online.
It's a strange new world, isn't it? And with all these blurred lines with connectivity and whether or not you're actually connecting with people when you see them online, or do you need that face-to-face contact? Ebony, I wonder if you've noticed in your work with the Red Cross this rise in loneliness. Have you noticed it, and are you seeing an effect on mental health?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think we see firsthand often the implications of being able to reach out and rely on the people that really matter to you and can help you out and support you. I think we all have our ups and downs in life, whether it's a relationship breakdown or health issues or mental health issues or things like recovering from disasters. We all have those times where we need to reach out and get support. I think that now what we're seeing with the increase in loneliness is that we need to rethink what our relationships and connections really mean. So it's stepping back, as Nikki says, from that one relationship or the 300 Facebook friends to say, how satisfied are we with those relationships? And I think if we aren't happy with the relationships that we've got, that's actually the triggers for us to experience loneliness, which can have really serious implications for our health and happiness.
Who is most vulnerable, do you think?
So we see that loneliness peaks both in later adulthood, which I think is where a lot of the conversation plays out currently, but actually it peaks in early adulthood as well. So the way we think about it at Red Cross is there are disruptions that happen in our life, and if we're overly reliant on small numbers of relationships or online relationships or distant ones, it causes disruptions right across that network. So our focus to begin with Beat Loneliness is absolutely focused in on young people to spark a different kind of conversation.
Often as we get older, of course, our circle does get tighter and smaller, but it seems to be getting smaller and potentially dangerously too small. We asked plenty of you at home what you thought about this and how hard you find it to stay in touch with your friends. Carrie wrote in, she says, I feel horrible because I don't keep in touch with my friends as much as I'd like to. Unfortunately, life gets in the way. Jackie posted, definitely not. All your true friends contact you day in and day out. It's only the fake we find hard speaking to. While Karen says, since I found Facebook, I've found it easier to stay in touch. Plus, I've met some awesome people as well. We were just saying in the ad break, Nikki, I find that Facebook and social media is a problem in that I'm exposed to such a wide circle. I feel like I need to be catching up with every single person, and I carry this guilt constantly. How do you navigate through that?
I think, first of all, you also need to look at this idea of too busy. We always say we're too busy to catch up with our friends. We bump into people on the street and we say, I would love to catch up for a coffee, but then we think, I don't have the time. We need to get guilt away from that notion. It's okay to have time to catch up with your friends. It's not something we seem to fit into the mix these days. We've got to work out, we've got to work, we've got to do something at home. When do we put that importance on, let's actually catch up with a friend and sit down and be present, instead of trying to flip through Facebook and be present with 10 conversations? Let's have that one conversation and actually stick to our plans. Say to somebody, let's go out for drinks Friday night. I'm coming over with Thai takeaway, and actually stick to that and not get into that habit of, oh, but I'm too busy and I've got all these other things to do. Don't feel guilty for catching up with a friend, because those friendships are actually very important for your mental health and your well-being.
So crucial, isn't it? Ebony, what's your advice to anyone who is suffering from loneliness?
Look, I think it's about starting with what you've got. We've all got an awful lot of strengths within our current networks that we can really work with. So rather than trying to think of it as this big grand gesture of making new friends or only doing face-to-face interactions, I think we need to start with the strengths we've already got and invest a little more into those relationships that already exist. We also find that most people want to do good and connect with their communities through other things like volunteering. So get out there, connect with your community and volunteer.
It was also interesting in this research, 20% of Aussies have no neighbours they could ever turn to or pop in maybe for a cup of sugar if they need it. Do you know your neighbours, Nikki?
I do, but I feel like I've been in that whole debacle of, oh, we should catch up. So I think doing this segment has definitely motivated me to say to my neighbours, hey, come over for a drink. And maybe instead of taking to Facebook and asking for a recommendation, maybe it's better to actually knock on the door and say, would you like to come over for a drink? I've got a few questions. Instead of asking Google, why don't you ask somebody that you know that's physically close to you rather than putting out to that online universe and expecting fake friends or people that just follow you to come back with good suggestions. Because it's not a connection. It could be, a great suggestion, but it's still nice to have a conversation around that answer. Tell me what you've done. Tell me what your experiences are. That seems to be something that we've lost, and instead we're searching online when really we have people that are close to us. We just actually have to reach out to them.
As they say, everybody needs good neighbours, right?
Yeah.
Nikki and Ebony, we really appreciate your time and your insight, Ebony, too. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Carl and Ali, with friends like you, I know I'm all right.
Oh, I was wondering where she was going to go with that.
Speak
I wasn't
yourself.
sure.
I'm not sure you've got any support from me at all.
Well, yeah, no, you're probably right about that.
Never
Thank God
tried
for
to
your
borrow
brother.
the flower, have you?
No.
I mean, I'm not going to lend it to you either. Remember back in the day, you used to lean over the fence and say, hey, you got any spare sugar? I don't think that happens anymore, does it?
Marge, do you have any salt?
Yeah. Doesn't
It's all apartment living, that's why I don't.
I remember the day.